Hello, tonight our lesson is on the slope formula. The slope formula allows us to calculate slope without actually having a graph of the line. In order to use the slope formula, we just need 2 points that are on the line. So for instance, let's say I had the points x equals 1, y equals 3, and x equals 4, y equals 6. All right, so rise over run, as we know, is our slope, rise being the vertical change. Well, if you have a vertical change, what you have is you have a difference of 2 y values. And that's what the y sub 2 and the y sub 1 represents. It represents the 2 y values of the 2 points that you're using. And then the run is the change in the x direction. So the x sub 2 and the y sub, or the x sub 2 and the x sub 1 represents the 2 x values of the points that you're using. So we simply substitute the 2 y values and the 2 x values, subtract them, and that will give us our slope. All right, here's our first example. Find the slope of the line that has the points 2, 5, and 1, 3. So again, my slope formula is going to equal the 2 y values subtracted over the 2 x values subtracted. Well, my 2 y values are 5 and 3. Now, it doesn't matter which order you subtract as long as you're consistent with it. So let's say that I'm calling 5 the first y value and 3 the second y value. Then I would go 3 minus 5. That means that the 2 is going to be the second x value, or the first x value, excuse me, and the 1 is going to be the second x value. So this would be 1 minus 2. Simplifying this, 3 minus 5 is negative 2, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, and then negative 2 divided by negative 1, the negatives cancel, and we get 2 over 1. But let's say we did it the other way. Let's say that we considered 1, 3 to be the first point and 2, 5 to be the second point. So let's say I did this. Let's say I did the y values 5 minus 3. All right, so then I go the x values are 2 minus 1. I'm still going to get the same answer. But notice that I was consistent in how I subtracted the y values and the x values. All right, so here's another example. Find the slope of the line that has the points 0, 4, and 3, negative 1. All right, so let's just go ahead and say that this is going to be our first x and y values, and this is going to be our second x and y values. So when we use our slope formula, we know what to substitute, and we'll keep the same order. All right, so my slope formula is going to be the 2 y values subtracted over the 2 x values subtracted. All right, so y sub 2 is going to be the negative 1, and y sub 1 is going to be the 4. X sub 2 is going to be the 3, and x sub 1 is going to be the 0. Now let's simplify. Negative 1 subtract 4 is the same as negative 1 plus negative 4, so that's a negative 5. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So the slope of the line that goes through the points 0, 4, and 3, negative 1 is going to be negative 5/3. Now if I did a sketch, just a real quick sketch of this graph. Okay, here's my y-axis and x-axis. So let's say the point 0, 4 would be right here. The point 3, negative 1 would be down there. So a quick sketch of the graph confirms that the line that goes through those 2 points is going to have a negative slope. It is going down to the right. So my answer does make sense. All right, here's our next example. Pause your video Then find the slope of the line, and then restart the video to check your answer. Welcome back from pausing the video. Let's call this first point x1 and y1, and the second point x2 and y2. Let's use our slope formula, subtracting the two y values, subtracting the two x values. All right, so y2, y sub 2 is going to be 6. Y sub 1 is negative 1, so 6 minus negative 1. Notice how I did that. The formula has a minus sign, but what am I subtracting? Well, I'm subtracting a negative 1, so I need to put a parenthesis around the minus sign. All right, x sub 2 is 4, and x sub 1 is negative 2. Now let's simplify. Well, 6 subtract a negative 1 is the same as 6 plus 1, so that's 7. And then 4 subtract negative 2 is the same as 4 plus 2. That equals 6. So the slope of our line is 7/6. Here's our next example. Pause the video, calculate the slope, restart to find your answer. Welcome back from pausing the video. Let's call 3, 4 our first x value and first y value, and 1, 4 our second x value and second y value. Let's use our slope formula. The two y values subtracted over the two x values subtracted. And my y sub 2 value is 4, and my y sub 1 value is also 4. And then my x sub 2 value is 1, y sub 2 is 3. 4 minus 4 is 0, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So 0 over negative 2 gives me a slope of 0. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because if I did a quick sketch of my y and x values, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here's the point 3, 4 would be here. The point 1, 4 is there. I have a horizontal line, which of course has no slope. It's a slope of 0. All right, that's all for tonight. Don't forget, read some books.